Well, I got the chassis out, get some daylight on it, and yeah, it gives you a whole different perspective on what it looks like. You got some tires there. I don't know if I like the front end on this thing. And what I'm talking about is this hood line. I don't think I like the way the hood rises up so much before it comes back down. So I think I might change that. Guess who's back? Man, it's been a while. I've had a lot of things going on this year, a lot of life stuff, a lot of family stuff. Shit happens, but I'm gonna try to get back on here and do some videos a little bit more consistently. Winter, things theoretically should slow down, and I want to get back on building this thing. I want to see this thing go. So there's a lot of things that I need to do. I reconfigured this lower section, redid the hood tubes because I didn't like the way the original ones turned out. I don't know if I covered that in the last video, it's been so long. So anyway, I got this all tacked together, and the next step could be a number of different things. I added these firewall bracing tubes in. I could continue these. I need to add another tube coming under here, going down to this corner to make that node. I need to add bracing tubes going from here to here. I need to add cross tubes in here between the two. There's a lot of things I could do, but I think what I should do is get that front axle back underneath here and just check for clearances again, because I did change up these lower rails just a little bit. I want to make sure I still have the same amount of up travel. However, in part of putting that axle, the front axle back underneath here, what I need to do is get the steer knuckles configured with the high steer arms that I got. So I bought the Spidertrax steer knuckles and inner C's used, and they are set up for the old school bolt-on Spidertrax high steer arms. So what I've done is I went to Miller Motorsports, Eric, and I bought his weld-on high steer arm kit for these old school Spidertrax knuckles. If you buy Spidertrax knuckles nowadays, brand new, I don't remember if it's their Pro Series or their Ultimate, I don't remember what they're called, but they offer weld-on high steer arms in 3 different positions. I think there's a low, a medium, and a high. Anyways, Eric Miller at Miller Motorsports, he makes this kit. It's all laser cut and ready to go, and it's meant to bolt on for reference to these old school Spidertrax knuckles to get this high steer up higher, and anyway, have a mounting position for your steering ram way up higher. You'll see what I mean. But first, what I got to do is I need to prep all that stuff and get it ready to weld, but I also need to prep the knuckles. They're rusty, they're dirty, and everything's buried in a pile. Shop's a mess. I need to get this chassis out of the way and get this little welding table, this little sit-down welding table I have. I want to get that out and put it back on the floor here and use that, because I'll be TIG welding everything. At least I'm going to try to. It's been a while. That's what I'm planning on doing today. And I'll kind of, it's my first time doing these steer arms. I don't know how it's going to go together, so you guys will come along the ride with me and see how it goes. All right, here we go. All right, so I got some stuff rearranged here. Here's the old Spidertrax knuckles. Again, I bought them used. These are old Pro Series knuckles. And so somebody, like I said, somebody added this to these knuckles for double shear with the original designed bolt-on high steer arms that Spidertrax puts out. So one of the things I'm going to need to do is cut off this bracket that somebody added, and then go with this design from Eric. So these there's all kinds of parts here. It's all prefabbed, it's pre-bent, obviously, for both right and left. Your underside brackets, everything is here, pre-packaged, ready to go. Looks like we got, these are for the steering stops. Secondary brackets for the brake caliper mount to make it double shear. These already have brake caliper mounts on them. You can see they're already on there, so that's something that's going to be an aside that I'm going to have to figure out. These little triangles are steering stops. And the steering stops, I think, go on, yeah. Steering stops go on the inner C. Bottom bracket for the high steer arm to make it double shear. Gussets. More gussets. I think these are gussets that go on the, I don't know yet. I'll let you know. I think they go on the inside of the inner C. I'm not 100% sure. And then weld washers. These weld washers are beautifully machined. Got a nice finish. And these will go in the high steer arms to step these down to, I think, a 3/4 inch bolt for your steering heim. That's awesome. And that's the other side bracket. So, all right. Get everything organized. Kind of loosely put everything together and figure out where we need to be. All right, so I got these cut off with the plasma. As you can see, now of course, if you got brand new knuckles, you're not gonna need to do any of this, but previous owner had set these up with these double shear brackets that I cut off. And now I gotta weld all this, or I gotta grind all this weld off. This is some pretty thick weld, so I'm gonna go ahead and try some stone discs first and see if I can move a bunch of metal this way first, and then I'll clean it up with the flapper disc. The other thing I noticed is previous person had set up these caliper brackets in, I guess this would be like the 12 o'clock position on Miller Motorsports diagram. He's got the caliper brackets set up back here in the like the 3 o'clock position. So I don't know if I'm going to need to do that. These might interfere with the high steer, so I might have to cut these off as well, which is a shame because there's some beautiful welding on here, but we'll see. All right, so I got that secondary double shear bracket cut off, and I've got high steer arm bolted on here. According to the directions, it says it wants you to go ahead and use, factory bolt locations here. Oh, focus. Bolt item to Spidertrax knuckle weldment before welding. So then we've got this, the number 3 there you see is this side gusset. Sorry for the noise. So this side gusset goes right here. Right in here. And then so you can see, I'm gonna have to get a weld. Let's see if that'll stay. I'm gonna have to get a weld in here and then around through the top. So definitely for sure, this Pro Series badge has got to go. And I think, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to cut off this brake bracket. It's just gonna give me more access in behind there, especially for TIG welding. I guess if I wanted to MIG weld this, it could be pretty simple, easy pass. Get in there with a MIG torch, but for TIG torch, it's gonna be a lot easier just to get this brake bracket out of the way. I was just sort of dry fitting a Heim joint in here and trying to figure out what I can do to jig this up so that these arms are parallel to each other for weldment or for fitment, I guess. And it looks like the spacing or the gap in here to make these parallel is about 1.25 inch. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I've got some aluminum stock, and this one is not quite wide enough. This is 1.125, so 1.125, 1 1/8. I need 1 1/4 inches. So I'm going to make some bushings out of aluminum to bolt in here. I'll just turn them down the lathe real quick. Hopefully I've got some aluminum stock this big. I think I do. Do that real quick, so be an opportunity to run the lathe. Haven't done that in a little bit, so I'll go do that and then figure out what I'm going to do about that brake bracket. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need to cut it off. All right, over here at the lathe, we got some of this 2-inch solid aluminum round stock. There we go. Drop that. So I cut 2 blanks, billets. One I dropped on the floor. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these out and then turn them down to the proper width, which is 1 1/4 inch. And then I'll have some spacers for that, those high steer brackets, and we'll go from there. All right, I got 1 spacer done. That's going to be perfect. Nice and parallel. 1 1/4 inch, 1.25. Now I got to do 1 more for the other side and let the mock-up begin. All right, here we are several weeks later. I did get a hold of, I think at the last video, I've recorded this over several different days. I think the last video I was questioning whether or not this spacer needed to be 1 1/4 inch, or 1.5 inches, and it turns out I did talk to Eric Miller, and he said he designed these to be spaced at 1.5 inches. So these spacers I machined, are obviously the wrong width. They're 1.25 inches. I thought that's what it needed to be, but turns out it needed to be 1.5 inches. So what I did was, I've already got this knuckle done, but what I did was I added a couple of washers in here for spacers to get this measurement here at 1.5 inches. So I had to go ahead and do one knuckle just to get familiar with the entire process. And there is a ton of welding in here. At least it's a ton for a TIG welding. For me anyway, I'm by no means an expert at TIG welding. I'm a beginner at best, but I seem to be able to get things to stick together, and the only thing you can do with TIG welding is practice. You just need a lot of practice. So with this kit, there are gussets that go inside of the knuckle here. There's this plate here. There's another plate here. There is a plate here, a plate here, and then there's a plate that goes up underneath here that bridges everything together. And it's just to give the knuckle a bunch more strength over just this stock. I think this is 3/8 plate. These gussets in here add a lot more strength to the knuckle. I believe the new Pro Series knuckles, or I don't know if they're called Pro Series or what, but I believe they come with all this stuff now. Here's the bread and butter of the high steer arm itself. The design is awesome. It's straightforward. It's simple, but it's stout. There's a lot of gusseting in behind this arm, and this brings that steering mount location up high enough to where your ram sits up high if everything's in line, and keeps it out of harm's way, I'm hoping. So you can see there's this one plate, there's a plate on top. The bolts, really, I don't think they're necessary anymore. They are a tool to help you get everything lined up correctly, but I think from this point on, really what I can do is trim these factory bolts off, put them back in there just so it fills the hole. And like I said, they're probably not necessary anymore because everything is welded on now. So this is the outside, and then I'll flip this thing around so you can see the inside gusseting, and go from there. There's a plate, there's a double stack plate that goes in here. There's one here, and then you weld this over the top, then you weld this plate on top, and then there's another plate that goes back in here that I haven't welded yet because I wanted to make sure everything was cooled off before I take this spacer out and get in there and weld that other plate in there. So there's one more gusset I got to weld in there. Everything else is pretty well done. This top plate is welded around the perimeter of the knuckle. So like I said, the bolts probably aren't necessary, but I'm gonna leave them in there just for looks. They definitely don't need to be as long as they are, so either trim these off or get some shorter bolts and use them just for that purpose here. So anyway, I've got a whole nother knuckle to do, and I think collectively, because I'm very slow, I did this entire knuckle on this side probably over 4 different sessions of sitting down at the table, taking my time, making sure everything was clean. Again, like I said, I'm not a expert TIG welder by any means. I'm slow. So there we go. I'm gonna probably set up the camera over here. I need to clean this bench up. It's a mess, obviously, and we'll do some time lapse, and I'll start working on this other knuckle. All right, here we go. right, so I got the majority of this upper arm done. This joint, I've got to go back over here, get that, go down the back side, and then I've got to go through right here. I'm probably going to do 2 passes right here, so I got to get that primary hot pass in there, and then I'll probably do like, attempt to do like a weave in there, kind of make it look cool. Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see what the TIG gods say today. So far it's been going good, don't want to jinx myself, so here we go. Okay, well, I'll move on to the inner brace here. I've got these 2 lines welded up. Now I just got to weld up this seam. And then after that, air compressor. After that, this gusset goes in there. All right, here we go. All right, got that inner gusset in. It's all welded in. Now I just got to put there's a gusset that goes right here. And then I'll let this thing completely cool down, and then I got to put an inner gusset inside of here, which requires taking this out. So, going great. Here we go. All right, got that second pass laid in there. Tried my little weave technique. Came out okay. Got a little spot right there. I don't know what happened. Must have got hung up on my glove or something. But yeah, looks all right. Better than some, not as good as others. We'll keep swinging. All right, there we have it. These are just about done. The only thing I got to do on this one is put, like I said, put that inside gusset, which goes this gusset right here. And these are just about cooled off enough to where I can do that. But I'm going to go ahead and close out this video. It was probably a long one. I did this over several days, several weekends, several sittings. Anyway, it's a great little kit. And there is one more thing I need to add, and that is these double shear caliper brackets. And actually I lied, 2 more things. And there are steering stops that come with the kit as well. So I won't do these until I get some calipers, and that'll be later on down the road. But these are all but done other than that. And I'm gonna go ahead now. What I can go ahead and do is get back on the chassis, stick the front axle underneath it, set up my mock-up links, check for travel, because like I said, I updated these lower tubes here. And then I think I can start mocking up my steering ram placement and my my front axle truss, steering ram mount, etc. All right, as always, thanks for watching, you guys. I know it's been a while. I'm gonna try to get back on this thing consistently this winter, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks again.